March 1986, Hamburg, midweek session, Wednesday afternoon, the studio booked from 2 p.m. New song, Dieter had been working on it for 2 weeks. The melody strong, the arrangement built, the production framework complete, the instrumental track already recorded. What remained, lyrics, and Thomas, the vocal performance that would complete it. Dieter had finished the lyrics the previous night, satisfied with them, the song about yearning. About wanting someone distant, about the space between desire and fulfillment. Standard, modern, talking emotional territory, familiar ground. The lyrics fit the melody, fit the arrangement, fit the production architecture he'd built. He arrived at the studio confident. The song was ready. The session would complete it. Thomas arrived at 1:58 p.m., 2 minutes early. Professional standard maintained. He nodded to Dieter. Afternoon, new song today, strong one. Dieter handed him the lyric sheet, the way he always handed lyric sheets, casual, standard procedure. Here are the words, learn them, sing them, professional delivery, no ceremony, no discussion invited, just here are the words. This was the pattern of 2 years. 2 years of sessions where Dieter handed and Thomas received. Where Dieter created and Thomas performed, where the creative direction flowed one way and the professional compliance flowed the other. It had worked, commercially, musically. Every song they had recorded together had achieved what it needed to achieve. Every performance Thomas had given had served the composition Dieter had built. The partnership was functional, was excellent, was producing extraordinary results, and the pattern unbroken. Until today, Thomas took the sheet, held it, read through, standard, routine. He read new lyrics before every session, internalized them, found the phrasing, located the emotional territory. This was how he prepared. He read, first verse, standard, the yearning established, the distance described, the longing expressed, familiar emotional ground. He could feel his way into it already. Could identify the phrasing that would carry the melody, could sense where the genuine feeling would live in the performance. Good, this was good. He read the chorus, fine, strong melody anchor, the emotional peak of the song clear and reachable. He read the second verse, and here, pause, something in the phrasing, something in the specific combination of words that made a specific demand on the person who would have to embody them. He read the lines again, 3 lines in the second verse asking the narrator, asking Thomas, because when he sang it was Thomas, to express a specific kind of emotional neediness. Not yearning, not longing, something more submissive, more diminished. The lyrics framing the narrator as fundamentally incomplete without the object of desire, not romantically incomplete. Existentially incomplete, the lyrics saying, in effect, without you I am nothing, I have no worth without your love, I exist only in relation to your presence. Thomas read the lines a third time, precise now, careful, identifying exactly what was being asked. The emotional position the lyrics required him to inhabit, to perform, to give his voice to sing. Into the world as the sound of modern talking, he thought about singing them, tried to locate in himself the feeling the lines required, the feeling of being worth nothing independently, of existing only in relation to another person's love. He reached for it, searched, found nothing there, not because he hadn't loved, not because he hadn't felt the pain of distance or the weight of desire. He had felt those, could access those were real for him. But this specific position, fundamental worthlessness without love, was not his experience, was not his truth, was not something he could honestly reach. He set the lyric sheet down on the studio counter, looked at Dieter at the mixing board. I can't sing this, he said, flat, certain, direct, not apologetic, not hedged, just I can't sing this. Statement arrived in the studio like a foreign object, something that didn't belong, something that had never been there before. In 2 years of modern talking sessions, Thomas Anders had never said those words, had never refused, had never objected, had performed everything put in front of him, professionally, completely, without complaint or qualification. The pattern of their dynamic so established that this specific deviation from it registered as genuinely significant. Klaus Schmidt at the engineer's board, stillness, not looking at either man, aware, present, noting. Dieter looked up from the board, brief pause, processing the statement. Why? The question was genuine, not defensive, not dismissive, not what do you mean you can't sing it? Just why? The single word that opened a door. Thomas took a breath. He had not planned this conversation, had not rehearsed what to say, just knew what he felt when he read the lines, knew what the objection was, needed to articulate it accurately. needed Dieter to understand the specific nature of the refusal, not arbitrary, not precious, not an artist being difficult, a specific artistic problem, a specific conflict between what the lyrics required and what honest performance could deliver. The second verse, Thomas said, the specific lines about being nothing without her, about having no worth independently. The emotional position is it's not something I can sing honestly. I can sing longing, I can sing desire, I can sing the pain of distance, all of that, yes, but this specific position that I'm worthless without her, that I don't exist meaningfully without her love. That's not a feeling I can access genuinely, and when I can't access it genuinely, the performance shows it. The audience can't feel what I don't feel. The song won't work. Dieter was quiet, looking at Thomas, not at the lyric sheet, at Thomas, assessing. He had heard the argument, had understood the specific objection, the artistic objection, not moral, not personal, artistic, about authentic performance. About the relationship between what a singer genuinely feels and what an audience receives. He knew Thomas well enough as a performer to know that this distinction was real, that Thomas's performances landed when they were genuine and were hollow when they weren't. He'd heard both, had directed Thomas through hundreds of takes and understood what genuine versus performed emotion sounded like in the voice. This was not an arbitrary refusal, this was a specific claim about a specific problem. Tell me more, Dieter said, 2 words, also genuine, also opening a door. The conversation began, Thomas explained, carefully, methodically, the way he understood his own process as a performer, how he accessed emotion in recording, how the best takes happened when he could find genuine feeling to connect to, not manufactured feeling, not performed emotion. Genuine connection to something real. The yearning in the first verse, I know that feeling, I've felt it, I can access it. When I sing those lines, I'm singing something true. The audience hears that, that's why it works. The second verse, this specific emotional position, I don't know it genuinely. I've never felt that I have no worth independent of another person. I've never felt I'm nothing without someone else's love. I don't believe that's true about myself, and I can't pretend to believe it convincingly enough to make it land. I can produce the notes, I can perform the melody, but underneath it will be hollow, and hollow reaches the audience, even when they don't know why. Dieter listened, did not interrupt, the rare patience of someone genuinely considering. Thomas continued, it's not that the feeling doesn't exist, it exists for many people. Many people do feel that way about love, that's real, but I'm not those people, and the performance will know I'm not. The performance always knows. Dieter sat with this, a minute, longer, Klaus at his board, neither looking at the 2 men, present in his professional invisibility, the studio quiet with the weight of the conversation. Dieter spoke, the song needs that verse, the emotional arc requires it. The yearning in the first verse establishes desire. The second verse deepens it, the chorus resolves it. Remove the depth of the second verse and the chorus doesn't land. I'm not saying remove it, Thomas said. I'm saying the specific emotional position, worthless without her, doesn't work for me. There's another way to deepen it. The narrator can be desperate, can be pleading, can be consumed by the feeling, without being diminished, without being nothing. Desperation I can sing, pleading I can sing, being consumed, yes, being nothing, no. Something moved in Dieter's expression, slight, professional recognition. The distinction Thomas was drawing, meaningful, artistically defensible. The difference between a narrator who is overwhelmed by feeling and a narrator who is diminished by it. Subtle, but real, and real in exactly the way that affected whether a performance would land or float. He leaned back, the posture of someone genuinely processing, not defensive, not preparing counterargument, actually turning the thing over, examining it from the angle Thomas had offered. Give me an example, Dieter said. What's the difference? Practically, in the verse, Thomas thought, considered the specific lines. The word nothing and what surrounded it. The lines say I am nothing without you, that my existence has no value absent from your love. What I can sing honestly, I feel like I'm falling apart without you. I can't think clearly. I can't function the way I normally function. The feelings are so large they're overwhelming everything else. That's true. For me, that I could give you something real on, but I can't say that I'm nothing, that I have no worth, because I don't believe that, and what I don't believe, my voice doesn't believe either. Dieter was quiet again, looking at the lyric sheet, then at Thomas, then back at the sheet, the extended silence of a composer reconsidering his own work through a performer's eyes. This was unusual. This had not happened before. Dieter reconsidering. Dieter hearing the argument and finding it worth hearing. Thomas waited, didn't press, had said what he needed to say. The rest was Dieter's work, his decision, his creative authority. Thomas had offered the specific nature of the problem, offered alternative emotional territory. The choice was Dieter's. You're saying the problem is the word nothing, Dieter said, not the emotion, the specific claim. Yes, the emotion of being overwhelmed, true for me. The claim of being worthless, not true, not something I believe, not something I can sing as if I believe it. Another silence, longer. Dieter looked at the lyric sheet, read the second verse again, reading it now through what Thomas had said. Through the distinction Thomas had drawn, he read the lines, could hear now what Thomas was hearing, the specific weight of the word nothing. The diminishment embedded in the phrasing, the way the narrator was positioned not as overwhelmed but as fundamentally empty without love, could hear how a voice that didn't believe that would sound singing it, how the hollowness would register, how the performance would float above the emotion instead of being inside it. He set the lyric sheet down. Stood, give me a few minutes. He walked to the small room adjacent to the studio, where composers sometimes went to think, to work. The door closed. Thomas sat, waited, Klaus at his board, both in the studio, both waiting, different waiting from the October morning, different quality. That waiting had been empty. This waiting was full of the conversation just had, full of the rare experience of Dieter considering, actually considering, not dismissing. Not capitulating, considering. The difference between those three things was enormous. Thomas had not asked for capitulation, had not wanted Dieter to simply change the lyrics to satisfy Thomas, had wanted Dieter to understand the artistic problem and decide accordingly, based on the work, based on what would actually make the song better. That was different. That was respect for the work. Dieter was in the other room deciding based on the work. That was what the 2-hour conversation had been for. 20 minutes, the door opened. Dieter returned, lyric sheet in hand. He'd rewritten 3 lines in the second verse, not all of them, not a fundamental restructuring. 3 lines, the word nothing gone. The narrator now consumed rather than empty, desperate rather than diminished, overwhelmed rather than worthless. The emotional depth preserved, the specific diminishment removed. He handed the revised sheet to Thomas. Try this. Thomas read, the first verse unchanged, the chorus unchanged, the second verse adjusted, 3 lines, the difference significant, the emotional territory still deep, still requiring genuine access to being overwhelmed by. Failing, the specific claim changed, the narrator still in extremity, not a negation of their own worth. Thomas read it again, felt for the feeling, found it. Yes, this he could access. This was genuine territory. He had felt this, could reach it honestly, could sing it as truth, could give the audience something real. Yes, he said, no elaboration, no thank you, no you were right to change it. Just yes, this works, this I can sing. Dieter nodded. From the top, they recorded, first take. Thomas sang the revised second verse. The feeling arrived immediately. The genuine access present from the opening note, the performance landing where the melody needed it to land, the emotional depth real, not manufactured, not performed, real. The take ended, silence from the control room. Klaus at his board, hands still, waiting. Dieter, one more, second take, also excellent, different quality but also honest, also genuine. Dieter listened to both, considered, first take, he said, that's the one. Thomas removed his headphones, nodded. Klaus started preparing for the next song. Dieter was already reviewing the arrangement for the second track. Session continuing, the conversation complete, the adjustment made, the work done. No further acknowledgement, no, you were right from Dieter. No thank you from Thomas, the professional language of completion, moving on, but something had happened, something that would not be undiscussed between them because they rarely discussed anything, something that would not be celebrated because they rarely celebrated anything, just something. A line had been drawn, respected, a conversation had been had, genuinely, a change had been made, based on artistic reasoning. The first time Thomas Anders had said, I can't sing this to Dieter Bohlen, and the first time Dieter Bohlen had heard it, really heard it, and changed something. The session finished at 7 p.m. 3 songs completed, good work, professional. The first song, the revised one, was the best of the 3. Both knew it, neither said it. Thomas left first, good session, good session. He drove home, thinking about the afternoon, about the 2 hours, about what had happened in them. He had drawn a line, not in anger, not in frustration, in specific artistic clarity, had explained it, had been heard, had waited while Dieter considered, had received a response that honored both. The artistic problem and the integrity of the work, that was not nothing, that was actually something. In the specific economy of their partnership where so much went unacknowledged, where so much was left in the professional silence between them, where so much was said through the music rather than through words, this had been words, real consideration, real response, the first time. He didn't know if there would be a second time. Didn't know if the line drawn would hold across future sessions. Didn't know if Dieter's willingness to hear and consider was a one-time exception or a new possibility. He would find out in future sessions, in future lyrics, in future moments where the performance required what performance couldn't honestly give. What he knew now, it was possible to say no, specifically, artistically, with clear reasoning and to be heard and for the hearing to matter. That was new. That had never existed before. Now it did. First time, March 1986. The 2-hour conversation, the 3 changed lines, the first take that landed perfectly because it was true. That was what the first no produced. Not conflict, not crisis, not the end of anything. A better song, a genuine performance. A new possibility in a partnership where possibility had felt fixed. That was enough. That was more than enough.